Every broken family tells the same story about itself. It was the argument at the funeral. It was the will. It was what she said at the wedding, what he did with the loan, the holiday that went wrong, the phone call that ended everything. Every fractured family has its official story, the incident, the moment everyone points to, the one that gets retold for decades as the reason. And tonight I am going to tell you something that 70 years of watching families has taught me. And it may be hard to hear, because it will change the story you tell about your own. The incident is never the reason. Never. No family in the history of this world has ever actually been destroyed by an argument over a casserole dish, a will, a wedding seat, or a sentence spoken at a graveside. Those moments are where families break. They are not why. The why happened years earlier, sometimes generations earlier, quietly, in rooms where everyone was being polite. The incident is only the place where a long, invisible crack finally reached the surface, and blaming the incident is like blaming the last snowflake for the avalanche. Tonight I am going to show you the real reasons families fall apart, the deep ones, the ones my people watched for centuries and named and knew how to prevent. And I want to say this before we begin, because I know who is watching. Some of you are living inside a fractured family right now, estranged from children, cut off from siblings, sitting in the wreckage of tables that used to be full. This teaching is not sent to hurt you. It is sent to do the only thing truth ever does when it is given with love, to explain, to release, and for the families where it is not too late, and hear me, for many of you it is not too late, to show exactly where the mending has to happen. Because you cannot mend at the incident. Everyone tries to mend at the incident. You have to mend at the crack. The first true reason families fall apart is that the accounts were never settled, only silenced. Understand what most families do with their wounds, because it is the exact opposite of what my people did with them. In most families, when something wrong happens, a real wrong, a favored child, a cruelty, a betrayal, a burden dumped on one sibling while the others walked free, the family's answer is silence. We don't talk about that. Don't bring up the past. Let it go. Keep the peace. And everyone learns the family religion, which is the religion of the unsaid, and the wound goes underground, and the family calls the silence peace. Hear my grandmother on this, because she said it in one sentence. She said, "The unsaid does not die, grandson. It compounds. Every silenced wound sits in the family ground like a seed, and it grows in the dark. And it feeds on every gathering where it must be stepped around, every holiday where the favored one is favored again. Every year the ledger stays wrong and unmentioned. And the family feels it growing. Everyone feels it. That is what the tension at your tables was all those years, the thing everyone felt and no one named. And then, at some funeral, some wedding, some ordinary Tuesday, somebody's foot finally goes through the floor, and 30 years of the unsaid comes up in one afternoon, in the worst possible words, at the worst possible moment. And the family stands in the wreckage saying, "Where did this come from? This came from nowhere." It came from 1974, my friend. It came from everywhere. The fight that ended your family was never one fight. It was every conversation the family refused to have, arriving all at once, with interest. The old people knew this law, and so they built the talking circle. They built ceremonies whose entire purpose was to keep the accounts current, to say the hard thing this season, in order, with witnesses, before it could compound. Families do not fall apart from their wounds. They fall apart from their silence about their wounds. The wound is survivable. The silence never is. Let me prove it with two brothers I knew, because their story carries the whole first teaching. These two worked their father's land together for years, and when the father passed, the dividing of things was done badly, as it is so often done badly, and one brother got the better of it, and both of them knew it. And here is where their story becomes every family's story. Nothing was said. The wronged brother swallowed it, for the family, for the mother still living, for the peace. And the advantaged one, who always knew, said nothing either, because silence was serving him. And for 11 years those two men sat at the same holiday tables, passed the same dishes, watched each other's children grow, and the family praised heaven that the passing of the father had not divided them. Look how close the brothers stayed. And the whole time, underneath the past dishes, the account sat open, compounding. And in the 12th year, at a gathering, over something so small I promise you would laugh, a borrowed piece of equipment returned late. 11 years came through the floor in 9 minutes. Things were said that could never be unsaid, in front of children, in front of the old mother, and the brothers never sat at a table together again. Not once, not at the mother's funeral, and the family's official story forever after was the equipment. Can you believe it? A family destroyed over a borrowed implement. No. Hear it tonight and hear it for your own table. The implement was the snowflake. The estate was the avalanche, 11 years packed and waiting. One honest conversation in the first season, 1 hour of hard truth with the wound still fresh and small, would have cost that family an uncomfortable afternoon. The silence cost them everything. That is the arithmetic of the unsaid, and it is running right now in half the families watching this. Before I share the next teaching, I need to tell you something. I am not going to be here forever, and most of what I know was never written anywhere. So I sat down and I wrote it, all of it. 20 teachings, 4 parts, in the order they were meant to be received. The ones about keeping the family accounts current before they compound. The ones about mending at the crack instead of the incident. The ones I have never said on camera. It is called the native way, and it costs less than 1 dinner you will not remember. Scan the code on your screen or look in the comments, but do not leave yet. Because the second reason families fall apart is the one nobody suspects, because it wears the face of love. And most of the broken families watching tonight will recognize it in about 90 seconds. The second true reason families fall apart is that somebody held the whole thing together alone. This is the one that wears love's face, so watch closely. In nearly every family there is one person who is the keeper. Usually a woman, usually a mother or a grandmother, sometimes a father, sometimes one dutiful daughter. The one who makes the holidays happen, who remembers every birthday for everyone, who calls each scattered member and carries news between them, who smooths each conflict before it can catch fire, who guilt manages the reluctant ones into showing up, who is, in her own body, the entire infrastructure of the family. And everyone lets her be, because it works, because the gatherings happen and the birthdays are remembered and the family appears, to itself and everyone else, to be close. Now hear what the old people knew. A family held together by one person is not held together. It is one heartbeat from apart, because nobody else ever had to learn the holding. The siblings never built direct roads to each other. Every road ran through her. The family was a wheel, and she was the hub, and the spokes never once touched each other except through the center. And you know what happens to that family, because half of you watching have lived it. The keeper dies, or the keeper finally burns out. And within 2 years, sometimes within 2 holidays, the family that seemed so close scatters like beads when the string is cut, and everyone says we just drifted apart after Mom died, as if it were a mystery, as if it were weather. It was not weather. The family did not drift apart after she died. The family was never together. She was together, and they were all attached to her, and her death did not break the bonds between the siblings. It revealed that there were none. If you are the keeper watching this, and you know if you are, Hear what this teaching asks of you, because it is not what you think. It does not ask you to stop loving or stop hosting. It asks you to stop being the only road. Make them call each other. Refuse sometimes to carry the message. Tell your son to call his sister himself. Hand pieces of the holidays away even when they will be done worse. Build the roads between them while you are alive to supervise the construction, because the string, my friend, the string does not get to stay forever, and what you want to leave behind is not a family that needed you. It is a family that learned from you how to hold each other. I watched one keeper do exactly this in her last years, and it is one of the finest things I ever saw a matriarch accomplish. She had been the hub for 40 years, and after a health scare made her mortal to herself, she began deliberately what she called her retirement plan. Though it was nothing of the kind, it was an inheritance plan for the holding itself. She assigned Thanksgiving to one daughter, permanently, and ate what was served and praised it, though I am told the first years were rough eating. When one son complained to her about the other, she would say, "That sounds like something to tell your brother," and hand him the phone and sit there while he squirmed. She made the grandchildren exchange numbers. She started a foolish little tradition of the siblings taking one trip a year without her, over their protests, and paid for the first one herself. They thought she was slowing down. She was building roads. And when she passed, the family grieved hard and then gathered the next December, unsure, wobbling, and held. And they have held every year since. The greatest gift that woman ever gave her family was not the 40 years of holding them. It was the last 5 years of teaching them to hold each other. Both were love. Only one of them survived her. The third true reason families fall apart is that the members stopped being people to each other and became roles. Listen to how broken families talk about each other, and you will hear it. He was always the golden boy. She was always the difficult one. He is the screw-up. She is the bossy one. That one is the baby. This one is the responsible one. Roles assigned early, most of them in childhood, by parents who did not know what they were doing, sorting their children the way all tired parents sort, and then frozen for 60 years, while the actual people underneath grew and changed and became someone else entirely, and the family never updates the file. A man can build a life, a business, a marriage, raise fine children, and walk into his mother's house at 55 and be, within 4 minutes, the screw-up again, spoken to as the screw-up, seated as the screw-up, and he feels it happen, the shrinking, the assignment. And this, hear me, this is why so many grown children dread the gatherings and cannot say why. It is not the family they avoid, it is the role, the costume hanging by the door with their name on it that they must wear to enter. And roles do not only wound the ones given the bad parts. The golden child suffocates under the halo, cannot ever fail, cannot ever need, and the responsible one is never once asked if she is all right, because her role has no scene where she struggles. Families fall apart from this because a person can only wear a costume so many decades before they stop coming to the theater. The estrangements you call mysterious. The child who pulled away from a family that loves him, ask whether he pulled away from the family or from the part he was forced to play in it. My people had a guard against this, and it was built into the way of the circle. In the circle, each person speaks, and the others must listen as if hearing them for the first time. As if hearing them for the first time. That is the entire repair, contained in one practice. The families that survive are the ones where the members keep meeting each other new, where the file gets updated, where a mother can say to her 55-year-old son, "Tell me who you are these days," and then actually listen to the answer as if she did not already know it, because she does not already know it. Nobody knows anybody who they knew 20 years ago. The family that keeps meeting stays. The family that keeps casting falls apart. And the fourth reason, the deepest one, underneath all the others, is that the family had no center but habit. Hear what I mean, because this one explains why families fall apart now more than they ever did in my grandmother's time. A family, like a camp, has to be organized around something. In the old ways, the family had a center, the fire, literally the fire, and everything the fire meant. The shared work of surviving, the ceremonies of the seasons, the stories, told and retold, that reminded everyone who they were and what their people had come through. The elders honored in the middle of it, the children raised by all of it, a shared understanding of what the family was for. Gravity. A family with a center has gravity, and gravity holds bodies in orbit even when they are distant, even when they are angry, even when they collide. Now look at what the modern family has for a center. A habit of Decembers. Some gatherings run on obligation and sugar, a group text. The family exists as a schedule, not a purpose, and everyone can feel it. Hear me. The young ones especially can feel it. When the gathering has no center, when it is togetherness about nothing, small talk in a circle around an empty middle, and this is why they drift. This is why every year it gets easier for the cousins to skip. The schedule alone cannot hold orbits, only gravity can. And here's the part I most want the elders watching to receive. You are the ones who can restore the center because you are the ones who carry it. The stories are the gravity, the history is the gravity. What this family survived, who these people came from, what was overcome so that everyone at this table could exist, that is the mass in the middle that makes the orbits hold. A grandchild who knows the story of their people does not drift. They are held. Even from a distance they are held, because they know they belong to something with weight. So tell the stories. At the gatherings, over the objections, through the eye-rolling, which is not real. I promise you the eye-rolling is not real. Tell them. Put the history in the middle of the table where the empty space has been. Families fall apart when there is nothing in the middle. Be what is in the middle. That was always, in the old way, exactly what the elder was for. So there are the true reasons, the silenced accounts compounding in the dark, the lone keeper holding what the whole family should have held, the roles that replace the people, the empty middle where the gravity should be. And notice, not one of them is the incident, the will, the argument, the wedding, the funeral. Those were only ever the last snowflake. And now, for those sitting in the wreckage tonight, hear the ending, because this teaching owes you an ending. If your family has fallen apart, look again at your official story, the incident, the unforgivable thing, and ask the deeper question, which crack was underneath it? Because cracks can be mended, even old ones, even now. And mending begins with one member. It only ever begins with one. Going to another, not to relitigate the incident, never to relitigate the incident, but to name the crack. To say, I think we stopped talking long before we stopped talking. To say, I think I only ever knew you as your role, and I am sorry. And I would like to meet the actual person before we run out of road. Sentences like that have raised families from the dead. I have watched it. Not always. I will not lie to you. Some cracks have run too long, and if yours has, then let this teaching at least give you the peace of understanding, because understanding is its own mending, and the release from a false story is its own kind of reunion. But for the rest of you, the ones whose families are strained and drifting and not yet gone, you now know what almost nobody knows. You know where families actually break, which means you, my friend, are now the one person at your table who knows where to mend. Go mend. The fire only needs one person to keep it, and it has always, in every age, been the one who could see in the dark. If what you heard today stayed with you, the book is there, The Native Way, 20 teachings, 100 pages, written the way I would speak to you if we were sitting together. Scan the QR code on the screen with your phone or find the link in the comments. Read one chapter. Sit with it. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which of the 4 cracks do you recognize in your own family, and is there still time to mend it? I read every comment, and if this is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel. We are not collecting viewers here. We are collecting people who remember. Come back next week. I am not done teaching yet.